G'day everyone, thanks for stopping by. Today's video is going to be one that I've been looking forward to for a little while. What we're going to be doing is swapping out the old three-way fridge that we've got in the caravan, which is where I am now, and we're going to be swapping that out for a compressor fridge. The compressor fridge that I've grabbed is a second-hand one. It's about 100 litres. It's a Vitra Frigo, don't quote me on that, and I'm certainly not Italian, so the pronunciation is going to be off there as well. I'll be swapping that out for the original Electrolux RM2310 gas electric fridge that we've got in here now. Realistically, I've never been happy with the three-way fridge in the caravan. This one's 90 to 100 litres. As soon as you open that fridge, all the cold drops straight out onto the floor, and then I find a three-way fridge just struggles in the heat. I get up to something like 8 to 10 degrees inside the fridge once it's been opened, and it will sit there for an awful long time before it cools down. If you've got meat or fish or dairy products or anything along those lines sitting in a fridge at 8 degrees for too long, you can get into trouble pretty quickly as far as food poisoning goes, especially if you're away for a few days. You can get tropical rated ones. Now, I've never had one, so I can't speak to them specifically, but certain the forums suggest that they are a lot more capable of keeping your stuff cool in hot temperatures like we see here in Australia. I really enjoyed having the compressor fridges in the back of the car, albeit that I have seen them struggle this summer. And again, you know, 45 degree heat, sitting out in the full sun, that car heats up. It's got to be nearly double that in the car. The ambient air temperature in the car just doesn't help that fridge to be able to compete with that. It can't do its job. The auxiliary battery that's in there, your AGM, is struggling to take charge and hold charge because of the temperature that's around it. So it doesn't matter how much current you're pushing into that battery, it's just not taking it, and your fridge is just not coping and can't cool down. I'm already set up with battery. I've done that anyway, regardless of the fridge, but that was part of the intent of getting all that done, was eventually to get the fridge and have that stuck in there. Got the Ridge Rider DCDC charger there. You'll see the link up there in the video of the installation and the review of that. I've already got the solar controller all set up there, and all the lights are controlled by the solar controller. And I am just about to be in the process of setting up some solar panels as a permanent install on the roof. I'm not far away from that, so if you want to see how I'm going to install some solar, solar panels on the pop top, stick around, chuck a subscription, whatever you need to do if you're interested in that, and we'll show you how to do that when we get around to it. Right now, the only cost was the cost of the fridge. I picked this up for 400 bucks second hand, and it looks like it's in pretty good condition. Underneath the fridge here, there is a little tap to turn off the gas, to disconnect that. So I will be relying on that at this stage. I don't want to terminate the gas line because I want that to be there if somebody wants to put this back in, or if I want to put it back in later on. If any of you have a suggestion of how to do this, also going to look to put something in the end, possibly just a bolt or something like that. I'm not sure. I'll be looking for information, doing some research on this to terminate that line as well, in addition to just turning the tap off, so I've got some redundancy in that to make sure the gas doesn't escape. So this is the interior of our three-way fridge. So you can see there's our cooling element there. The door on this one is reversible, the same as our 12 volts, pretty much model based, but if you're looking for a fridge, something to keep an eye out, I suppose. Locking mechanism is slightly different. This one doesn't have any locking mechanism on it at all, but it does have a little drop-in pin you can see here that you just turn and screw, and that just locks that door. I can confirm for you, if you don't have that pin in and you're traveling and you've got some contents in the fridge, it's going to end up all over the floor, and you're going to bend these slightly because the door will be open during transit, and there's a bit of weight on that door, especially if you've got something in it, and that can bend that. I know everybody basically says the reason to go with a three-way is they are simple. Everybody's welcome to their opinion, but I find that a bit of an odd comment that a three-way fridge, could be any more convenient or any more simple than a compressor fridge, which is running off either 12 volt or 240. I want to show you the starting process for a three-way fridge. Once you pull up and you want to switch this over to gas, so if you're going to be doing off-grid, chances are you've got some sort of a gas stove on the front, so you're likely to be using gas anyway. So going with a compressor fridge may or may not, depending on your setup, relieve you of the risk that's associated with carrying a gas bottle. They are small, but it's still there, must be noted. So obviously turn on our gas. And the fridge, we've got a tap, got to turn that on. Now, some of the newer models I've seen have moved the controls up the top, so that's a lot more convenient, but if you're looking at an older caravan like this, chances are your controls may be down the bottom, so you're going to want to get used to laying down. Realistically, you're not going to be able to see what you need to see to start this from a standing position. It's just not going to happen. Now, flick it over from electric to gas. So we push this button to allow our gas to flow through. That's going to come through, and then we're going to push this button, which is our Piezo Ignition, to try and get that started. We need to get nice and close because there's a little window here, and when that little flame kicks on, you're going to see it. You're going to see the little light transmitted up that little perspex rod, and you're going to see it in this tiny little window. That's the process, so get used to it. So push that and just keep clicking that one. Keep that button pushed in, which is the one that allows the gas to come through. Sometimes that'll go out, so you do follow that process again. Push that one in to allow the gas. Just keep hitting that button till you see the flame come up. You just keep your finger on there. Don't go anywhere. Get comfortable. And what you will eventually see is that flame is going to go from orange and it's eventually going to turn blue, which means it's taken off. You can take your finger off that button and your fridge is now cooling. When it does go to that blue flame, it gets quite difficult to see, so sometimes it's worth just, you know, give it another couple of pushes, holding that button in just to make sure it's going. And realistically, you might find yourself doing these ones just to make sure that the flames come on. So that's our process for the three-way fridge. I don't know anybody who can say that process of getting that started is simple. Keep in mind that you've got to switch it off 12 volt or whatever feed you've got. If you want to switch it over to gas, that's no biggie. It's just a switch. And look, it takes no more than 5 minutes. So it's not a difficult process by any means. It can give you the royal pulps if you've forgotten to switch it over to gas and you're sitting there pounding away on this button waiting for it to get started. If your gas hasn't come through, obviously you've got concerns of running out of gas. I guess if you're on a 12 volt and you've got solar, if your battery runs flat, at least the next day you can hopefully get a charge. Better chances of getting a charge out of your solar the next day rather than getting a top up of gas in the bush if you run out of gas. So keep that in mind. Neither of these are benefits or cons for either of the type of fridges, but it's certainly something you need to consider, and it's a possibility. I know a lot of people say that these are reliable, but the number of ads that I've seen on the likes of Gumtree or you know, some sort of sales site where they say works on gas, doesn't work on 240, doesn't work on 12, works on 240, works on 12, doesn't work on gas, works on gas, works on 240, doesn't work on 12, or some sort of stupid combination of those things. I've had a number of 12 volt fridges, and at this stage I'm yet to have one fail. Fingers crossed, touch wood. Now whilst we're here looking at the three-way fridge, we're also going to pop that onto 12 volt and we'll just show you what sort of current that pulls from our system. Currently we've just got one light on, so we're about 0.8. That's pulling around about 9.6, 9.7 amps. So as I said earlier, that's going to be pulling around about the 10 amps, give or take. Now with your absorption fridge, that will be pulling that 10 amps off your battery consistently, like constantly. Where if you've got a compressor fridge, it's going to have a duty cycle. It might run for 15 minutes out of the hour. It might run, you know, on a hot day, might run for half an hour, 45 minutes. So whatever that current draw has to be divided by the amount of time it's actually running over that hour or over that day. Now as far as pulling one of these fridges out, you can see we've got some holes here that house some screws, one there, one there. Obviously your mileage is going to vary as to your fridge type. We've got a few down there. We also have some down this side as well. Now a piece of cake to remove the door. You've literally just got one little bolt that is here, so you need yourself some kind of tool to get access to that, and you just need to start turning it to get it out. Open the door holding on the left side or supporting the weight with your right hand, because if you don't it'll drop. Pull it back and just lift. Now we can locate all of our screws. Now one thing I will tell you that I found with Jayco, and specifically my van, I can't talk of all vans, but I've seen examples on it on other vans, don't expect these screws to be going in straight. You can see the angle that that screw has been put in. Now this one has been taken in and out, but that was how it was inserted factory. And there's a number of screws around this. You can see when you go to pull that out, the lip on the fridge is too high. Because whoever put it together was having a bad day. So it wasn't me that screwed these up. No pun intended. It was Jayco or whoever installed the fridge. My 240 is actually connected. The plug that runs down under the fridge and it's just plugged in to a wall socket underneath. Disconnected there. Keeping in mind that when you remove the fridge, that cable may be routed somewhere and you may need to back that out as you remove the fridge. It's usually pretty long though. We're outside and this is our lower vent here. These will normally just clip in. You might have some sort of a little clip just here that you will turn and then be able to pull this out. That's been long gone, wasn't on there when I got the van. So I've actually put in a couple of screws here. Just lever that out. If it's the same as my van, that end goes in first. Kind of like putting in the batteries in the remote control. Push that end in, lock it in, and then push this end in. And it comes out the same way. Pull this end out and pull it out that way. So we're in the back of that vent and we've got a few things that we need to look at. This is our gas feed line just here. So we're just going to get a shifter or a spanner that fits onto that and we're going to back that off. I have turned the tap off inside and I will turn the gas off around the front. There's a couple of options here. We can take this off and that will allow us to remove the 12 volt that we've got feeding this, but for the purpose of just getting this out, I'm going to disconnect the 12 volt feed from underneath the fridge where I've made where it goes into the fuse box. So then we'll have our gas disconnected, we'll have our 12 volt disconnected, the 240 is disconnected, and it's just a case of pulling that fridge out. So for me, 5/8 fits that. FYI, it's normally threaded as well. So I'm winding this anti-clockwise to get it off. It is a bit of a tight little area, so be prepared for it to be a little bit fiddly, but it doesn't take long, again, with this one, till you can back it off by hand. Once you've disconnected that gas, this is our connection here. You can just pull on that hose, keeping in mind that it is just a copper pipe. Don't apply too much pressure to this, but you can certainly pull it back far enough for it to disengage from the connection on the back of the fridge there. That's our gas input on the left side there that we've just disconnected. That's your 12 volt feed just there under that panel. And on the right hand side, that's where the gas ignition system is. So you'll see the gas is fed in through here and gets ignited in here. And this is basically where your flame sits here with the heating element behind it. It goes straight up and comes out of your exhaust vent just there. So if you actually take this section out, you can lift it up and pull it out. You'll see there's our exhaust vent there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pop that out. And that's what that looks like there. It's just slid in over the exhaust. And that's our exhaust there on the inside. So just make sure you disconnect that before you slide the fridge forward. It probably won't break anything if you don't, but it's worth doing just in case. Now just getting down the bottom here so I can disconnect my 12 volt feed from under the fridge. That's that one. And all we're going to do now is just grab our fridge, just slide him forward and pull him out. And whilst there's not a heap of weight in these, just when you get to the edge of the cabinet, just take it easy and lift her out. Pop it down on the floor. And this is what the inside of the cabinet looks like. You can see up there, I've just ran some additional switches and we will probably play around with those while we've got some room back here. And that's the hole where our 240 volt comes up from underneath, and underneath we've just got a 240 volt socket. That's our gas we disconnected. And that's pretty much just the cabinet. You can see there's no insulation in there at all. And this cabinet is actually a little bit large compared to the specs for the spacings that you should expect around one of these three-way fridges. So there certainly can be some benefit from pulling it out and filling this cabinet out a little bit, especially on the sides and a little bit on the top, so it can work more efficiently. And you can also certainly put a fan on the back of that exhaust there as well, that exhaust vent. You can see I've actually got the door off the fridge and you run into that. Just why couldn't they just made it just a little bit wider? Oh, look at that. Trying to get the 12 volt, see if we can get it in the same way. Fingers crossed. We are close. So yeah, it's going to be a squeeze if I can I can get it up that next step. I think what we can do is if we turn it round, it's this fascia that's just getting caught on the door. If I turn it round, I could probably slip that in at a slight angle, and then the rest of the cabinet's going to fit through. Let's find out. Pain in the arse, that. I'll be back. Okay. Get that lip in there. Get that through the door. Now take that door lock off, because that's getting in the way. Might replace these screws too, because they're a bit shit. Worst comes to worst, this door frame looks like it's got about half a dozen, maybe a few more screws in it. If I take that out, the fridge will fit for sure. But one more go up this way. Okay, so you were there for that. So that's our 12 volt fridge in. It was tough work. The fridge itself is not heavy, and I think it's only about 27 kilos or something like that, so it's certainly manageable, liftable. You saw me do it on my own. I suppose for my size I'm reasonably strong. Older people probably aren't going to do that. It was a bit of a fight, but hopefully what you saw there was I took the right side lip inside the door, so that gave me, you know, a bit more room, like bringing a couch in through a doorway, and you sort of take one end in, like take the arms in and then turn it. I kind of used that approach where I took the lip in here, turned it, got it inside the door frame on the right hand side, then turned the left hand straight. Then what I did was lifted it up a little bit and then sort of leaned it forward, and what I found was, rather than applying a flat pressure to the rubber that's all around the door frame there, it was applying it at a single point as it was making contact, you know, and as it was sort of tilting down and coming past, it was only making contact with the rubber at one sort of point as it went down, and that took a bit of the pressure off and allowed it to go through. Simple physics, I suppose. It's just one of those things that you get a feel for as you're doing it, and you go, well, that's going to start to work, and lo and behold, it does. So I had somebody booked in to come and give me a hand to pull that window out and pass it in through the window. The good news is I don't have to do that now. Frankly, I'm a bit happy about that. As you can see on the back of the 12 volt fridge, we've just got a spade basically, so I might swap those over at a later point because I don't have any of those available, so we'll just stick with the wire that we've got on there at the moment. But so just a positive and negative connected up to 12 volt and we are good to go. And you can see on the back there we've got that hose that comes out. Now that's for our drip tray, so we need to have that exit the caravan there somewhere, so we'll figure that out in a minute. So you can see the mechanism on the back, there's our compressor there. So there is that space that you lose with the compressor, where with the three-way, that whole back is taken up by the cooling mechanism and the gas and the radiator. You can see that radiator there, there's a bit of a blowout. It's not going to be very efficient if it's all dusty like that. So what I might do is we'll install that. That's going to sit near the vent anyway, and then it will be sealed in that cabinet, and then when I blow it out, it'll actually just come out that air vent. So we'll leave that for now, and we'll blow that up. We'll blow that out once we've got it inside the cabinet, because what that's going to do is stop it from going around inside the van, and it should all come out that vent out there, so we should be good. So again, I've got no issues lifting this. They are a little bit heavy, but they're not, well, they're not terribly awkward, and I'm very confident in lifting up this sort of weight, and you know, in this style. If it was something that's a bit more awkward or a little bit heavy, I'd look to get a two-person lift, but for this I'm okay. So we've got no issues or concerns there. Just going to throw that lead out the back. Let's hope this is a straight fit. Oh. She is tight. Very, very tight. I think we might have to take some edging of this cabinet off. And we're going to be very, very close across the top. We really want this to go in as straight as possible. I don't want to have to wiggle it. This could not possibly be a tighter fit, I'm telling you now. So the bad news is it's not going to fit as is. It's very bloody close, but I'm starting to run into a few issues. The feet step down a little bit down there at the bottom. They've got a screw in them, and again the tolerances on this thing are so close. I need to just back it out. I want this to sit flush. I could just go and put screws in it now. Realistically, nobody would probably notice, but I would, and I want this done properly. This is much easier. Yay, we're in. Yay. Okay, so we're in. We're flush. Good fit. Took a bit of effort, but we're in. So if I listen nice and hard, I can hear that. Certainly if I open it, I can hear it. Let's turn around and have a look at what sort of current we're pulling on that meter. We are now just simply on 12 volt. I've turned all the lights off and I've got the 240 light on the back. But you can see that's pulling about 4.3 amps. That's while it's cycling. We've been using quite a bit of power, so we're down on 12.5, but that's 12.5 under load, so that'll come back up. It's night time, around about 9 o'clock, so we don't have any power coming in from the solar. So we'll let that run, we'll see how it goes, see how long it takes to get down to temperature. It's the next day and we've been out here just giving this a blowout with the air compressor, just to clean up that radiator that's in there. And you can see how reasonably close you are to that. That fan's actually going. Imagine that the noise in the actual caravan is even less than that because that's in the box, in the cabinet itself. So I'm really happy. I'm just going to replace this vent back here, put it in situ. Grab this bit of hose, just going to stick it down that through that bottom corner there, relocate that, and just cut off about there. I could cut that flush, but I'll leave it a little bit on so I can pull it through next time. Just pop our exhaust vent back in there as well. As you can see here, that's my top vent. I am actually thinking about taking these out and giving them a coat of white paint or black, maybe some other colour, give it a bit of character. But you see I have replaced it with the external decking screws that are coated. They're a bit more aggressive, but they are coated for external use. So we swapped out the ones that you can see were already rusted in there, so we swapped those out for these new ones. And this is just a 30cm LED strip that I've mounted on the outside, a little aluminium track, and it'll come like that. You can see we've just brought the wiring outside of the top vent there and then screwed it back down, and then put some mastic sort of around it just to make sure that that's sealed. My mastic skills are not the best, so we'll probably go along and get that a bit of a clean up. It doesn't bother me at all. Now 240 volt up there doesn't actually have the 12 volt input, so that's why we've had to go with the 12 volt LED strip just there. Such a fridge, very small stuff in the top, decent sized one in the middle and a large one in the bottom, and we can adjust those up and down, so we've got another position there. Quite a large freezer, which I'm really happy with. That's a lot larger than the one in the three-way. I think that's around about a 17 litre freezer, so that's excellent. And you can see we've just thrown some bottles in there just to cool it down. Obviously those shelves are adjustable. We've got the small bin in the bottom, but we do lose that depth there, which is where the compressor is there at the bottom section. A little glass panel. I don't know why they insist on putting glass in there. With things moving around, chances of that getting broken. Plastic or just some sort of other material, perspex, something would have been better than glass. The thing I don't like is that we have this drip tray that pretty much just sits down under the freezer. It catches any drips. I better not pull on that, because what I'm actually doing is pulling that hose out there at the back. That's the one we ran down outside the van, out through that vent. So when you pull that out, that actually pulls this through, so that's not sealed very well. So there is a very small gap there, which we might have to sort from the other side. And there's your thermostat control there on the back. And I have just found just a little old screw that I've had laying around that I actually took out, that was actually holding in the old fridge. I'll just drop into that hole just nicely. I'll actually stop that fridge from opening up, so it can't be opened during transit. So Might just keep that about. So that's it, it's the next day. I've got home from work, just been in blowing out the back of the compressor and the radiator, etc. in the back of the fridge just to make sure it was clean. I really should have done that when I first got it. Wasn't really thinking, and in a rush to get it in. Once I found out that I could actually fit it through the door, I was pretty happy about that. So I just pushed ahead with pulling the old one out. You can see the amount of effort that went through to get the other one out, but more so to get this one in. Just had to find that right technique. Take the door lock off just to give myself that little bit of extra space. Timber work is not one of my strengths, but I managed to take enough material out of the cabinet itself that I could actually get this one to go in. Everything that's powered by 12 volt in the van is routed through the solar controller and then straight through a fuse box. What I actually should do is put some sort of switch on the fridge so I can switch it on and off. The concern I've got is that it seems to cycle fairly often, a lot more than I would think the one in the car does. I'll be interested in that and just see what sort of drain it puts on the battery. I think at this stage, because I've gone from the old fridge that didn't used to use battery at all to the new one, and we'll be putting about 500 watts of solar on the roof. That's the next process. I've got the controller there to handle that. I have around about 260 amp hours available to me over the two batteries, and we'll just set them up. As I said before, I just was not happy with the three-way fridge at all. I had no confidence in it for its ability to cool on hot days. I'm out camping and I've been in some locations where there's been no shade, so the caravan is in full sun. That fridge just was not keeping up, and to have your food creeping up to, you know, 8-10 degrees during the middle of the day is just not acceptable and not a risk I was willing to take. So that's it, guys. I hope this one was of interest to you. If you've got any questions about either of the fridges, if I can help you out, let me know. This was just to, I guess, help those that are looking at maybe going for a compressor fridge or a three-way fridge and considering their options, but mostly to give somebody an idea of what it's like to actually swap one of these out for the other one and what the actual job entails. So there we go. I'll keep you updated. If I'm not happy with a fridge or something goes wrong with it or something like that, I'll let you know. Keep it in mind that it's second hand, so it wouldn't be a judgment on the actual brand itself, because I'm not exactly sure how old this fridge is, but it looks in top nick, so I don't think it's that old at all. So that's it, guys. Thanks very much for coming along on this one. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Now we've got to clean up.